Hi everyone, this is Ali at Afghans Against Extremism. In just a moment, I'm going to be playing President Trump's speech on Afghanistan, which highlights some of the policy changes that the United States is going to be making towards Afghanistan, Pakistan, and the region. After the video is over, I'm just going to break it down and explain what it all means in further detail. So let's have a look.
A hasty withdrawal would create a vacuum that terrorists, including ISIS and al-Qaeda, would instantly fill, just as happened before September 11th. And as we know, in 2011, America hastily and mistakenly withdrew from Iraq. As a result, our hard-won gains slipped back into the hands of terrorist enemies. Our soldiers watched as cities they had fought for and bled to liberate and won were occupied by a terrorist group called ISIS. The vacuum we created by leaving too soon gave safe haven for ISIS to spread, to grow, recruit, and launch attacks. We cannot repeat in Afghanistan the mistake our leaders made in Iraq. Third and finally, I concluded that the security threats we face in Afghanistan and the broader region are immense. Today, 20 U.S. designated foreign terrorist organizations are active in Afghanistan and Pakistan, the highest concentration in any region, anywhere in the world. For its part, Pakistan often gives safe haven to agents of chaos, violence, and terror. The threat is worse because Pakistan and India are two nuclear-armed states whose tense relations threaten to spiral into conflict, and that could happen. In Afghanistan and Pakistan, America's interests are clear. We must stop the resurgence of safe havens that enable terrorists to threaten America, and we must prevent nuclear weapons and materials from coming into the hands of terrorists and being used against us or anywhere in the world, for that matter. But to prosecute this war, we will learn from history. As a result of our comprehensive review, American strategy in Afghanistan and South Asia will change dramatically in the following ways. A core pillar of our new strategy is a shift from a time-based approach to one based on conditions. I've said it many times, how counterproductive it is for the United States to announce in advance the dates we intend to begin or end military options. We will not talk about numbers of troops or our plans for further military activities. Conditions on the ground, not arbitrary timetables, will guide our strategy from now on. America's enemies must never know our plans or believe they can wait us out. I will not say when we are going to attack, but attack we will. Another fundamental pillar of our new strategy is the integration of all instruments of American power, diplomatic, economic, and military, toward a successful outcome. Someday, after an effective military effort, perhaps it will be possible to have a political settlement that includes elements of the Taliban in Afghanistan. But nobody knows if or when that will ever happen. America will continue its support for the Afghan government and the Afghan military as they confront the Taliban in the field. Ultimately, it is up to the people of Afghanistan to take ownership of their future, to govern their society, and to achieve an everlasting peace. We are a partner and a friend, but we will not dictate to the Afghan people how to live or how to govern their own complex society. We are not nation building again. We are killing terrorists. The next pillar of our new strategy is to change the approach and how to deal with Pakistan. We can no longer be silent about Pakistan's safe havens for terrorist organizations, the Taliban, and other groups that pose a threat to the region and beyond. Pakistan has much to gain from partnering with our effort in Afghanistan. It has much to lose by continuing to harbor criminals and terrorists. In the past, Pakistan has been a valued partner. Our militaries have worked together against common enemies. The Pakistani people have suffered greatly from terrorism and extremism. We recognize those contributions and those sacrifices. But Pakistan has also sheltered the same organizations that try every single day to kill our people. We have been paying Pakistan billions and billions of dollars. At the same time, they are housing the very terrorists that we are fighting. But that will have to change, and that will change immediately. No partnership can survive a country's harboring of militants and terrorists who target U.S. service members and officials. It is time for Pakistan to demonstrate its commitment to civilization, order, and to peace. Another critical part of the South Asia strategy for America is to further develop its strategic partnership with India, the world's largest democracy and a key security and economic partner of the United States. We appreciate India's important contributions to stability in Afghanistan, but India makes billions of dollars in trade with the United States, and we want them to help us more with Afghanistan, especially in the area of economic assistance and development. We are committed to pursuing our shared objectives for peace and security in South Asia and the broader Indo-Pacific region. Finally, my administration will ensure that you, the brave defenders of the American people, will have the necessary tools and rules of engagement to make this strategy work and work effectively and work quickly. I have already lifted restrictions the previous administration placed on our warfighters that prevented the Secretary of Defense and our commanders in the field from fully and swiftly waging battle against the enemy. Micromanagement from Washington, D.C. does not win battles. They are won in the field, drawing upon the judgment and expertise of wartime commanders and frontline soldiers, acting in real time with real authority and with a clear mission to defeat the enemy. That's why we will also expand authority for American armed forces to target the terrorist and criminal networks that sow violence and chaos throughout Afghanistan. These killers need to know they have nowhere to hide, that no place is beyond the reach of American might and American arms. Retribution will be fast and powerful as we lift restrictions and expand authorities in the field. We will ask our NATO allies and global partners to support our new strategy with additional troop and funding increases in line with our own. We are confident they will. Since taking office, I have made clear that our allies and partners must contribute much more money to our collective defense, and they have done so. In this struggle, the heaviest burden will continue to be borne by the good people of Afghanistan and their courageous armed forces. As the Prime Minister of Afghanistan has promised, we are going to participate in economic development to help defray the cost of this war to us. Afghanistan is fighting to defend and secure their country against the same enemies who threaten us. The stronger the Afghan security forces become, the less we will have to do. Afghans will secure and build their own nation and define their own future. We want them to succeed. but we will no longer use American military might to construct democracies in faraway lands or try to rebuild other countries in our own image. Those days are now over. Instead, we will work with allies and partners to protect our shared interests. We are not asking others to change their way of life, but to pursue common goals that allow our children to live better and safer lives. This principled realism will guide our decisions moving forward. Military power alone will not bring peace to Afghanistan or stop the terrorist threat arising in that country. But strategically applied force aims to create the conditions for a political process to achieve a lasting peace. America will work with the Afghan government as long as we see determination and progress. However, our commitment is not unlimited, and our support is not a blank check. The government of Afghanistan must carry their share of the military, political, and economic burden. Under my administration, many billions of dollars more is being spent on our military, and this includes vast amounts being spent on our nuclear arsenal and missile defense.
So right off the bat, Trump made it clear that not only would the United States stay in Afghanistan, but that they would actually increase the number of U.S. troops there. So although President Trump didn't really go into detail, we do know from White House leaks that the United States is planning on sending an additional 3,900 to 4,000 U.S. troops in Afghanistan. Trump also made it clear that there's no current exit strategy. So what that means is that the U.S. military occupation in Afghanistan will continue on for several more years, if not indefinitely. So the most obvious thing, though, to point out about this speech is that Trump called out Pakistan for its role as a terrorist sponsoring state. Now, so this is actually a huge development. Now, the United States has always had its problems with Pakistan in the past. The most obvious example was the bin Laden case. But it's always dealt with them in private. This is the first time that the United States is actually calling out Pakistan publicly. On top of that, the United States has already begun to cut some of its funding for Pakistan. So just last year, the Pentagon withheld about $300 million in military aid that it was originally planning to send to Pakistan. There's a lot of speculation on what could happen as a result of the United States' new stance on Pakistan, but for now, this is definitely a step in the right direction, and I think it's definitely something that a lot of people have been calling for a very long time. The most important part of this speech, though, was what Trump said about India, and I'm sure you guys all paid close attention to that. The US and Trump are obviously very aware of the hostile relationship between India and Pakistan. This relationship is actually the reason for many of Pakistan's foreign policy decisions. Trump is basically asking, well, not basically, he is asking India to play a larger role in Afghanistan. Now, whether you think this is a good thing or a bad thing, regardless of what your opinion on more Indian involvement in Afghanistan is, the fact is that this is going to be sending Pakistan into panic mode. So it's extremely likely that if India does play a larger role in Afghanistan, that Pakistan will actually begin to increase their support for terrorist organizations. Pakistan will be desperate to stop India from having a close relationship or a close partnership with Afghanistan. This means that these policy changes will likely result in more bombings in Afghanistan and more activity from terrorist organizations. So finally, the one thing that I think you guys should all be kind of on the lookout for in the next couple of weeks the next couple of weeks to the next couple of months is what Gulbuddin Hekmatyar and his party, the Hezbi Islami party's stance will be in response to the idea of more Indian involvement in Afghanistan. I'm pretty sure they're going to be heavily opposed to it, but we'll wait and see. Anyways, that's it for now. Thanks for watching the video. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to comment, and I'll try my best to reply to any and all of them.